Want to know what a real man would tell their lady about love and life? You're in the right place. This is Hello Ladies with Rom Wills. Rom Wills is a speaker and author of several books on relationships. Grab some wine, sit back, and enjoy.
Hello, ladies. Welcome to my spot, Magical Thinking. Now, before I even get started, I want to make it very clear. This isn't just pertaining to black women. And this is especially for some of the men who come to the channel, and even though I prefer, that they don't might comment, yeah, black women need to do this or that. It's like, this ain't the channel for it. But also, this is a particular thing, magical thinking, that women across, you can find examples of this in all cultures, right? And usually magical thinking is really come down to a woman thinking that she can get a certain type of guy when she really doesn't have the things that would attract a certain type of guy to her. Like the greatest example, actually, of magical thinking is like these romance novels, especially, people ain't talking about 50 Shades of Grey anymore, or as much now, right? And we probably hear something about that close to Valentine's Day when they do a version of the third book. But, think about it. It's magical thinking to think you, a woman, is a plain Jane, average looking plain Jane, to think you can get that tall, muscular man, handsome man who's also rich, but then just sensitive enough, to deal with you, and patient enough, and, the whole Cinderella fantasy and stuff. And like I said, this goes across races. You got women in all socioeconomic categories thinking they will find the prince. It's the woman in, the poor neighborhood who thinks some baller type of guy is going to come scoop her up. Or it's the woman who has an education who think, she got a master's degree and all that, who think, well, she'll still get that other guy who will still want her. Or it's the homely woman who think that real drop dead handsome guy, is going to get past her looks and still want her. That's magical thinking. See, understand one thing. If a woman wants a type of man, she has to have something that's going to appeal to that man, right? Oh, and then included in all of that is, the woman will want all those men, that high post man or that top guy or something, and then expect him to be able to put up with whatever issues that you bring in that's not getting your man on your level. That's magical thinking. Or, it's magical thinking if a woman be a side piece to a man, that somehow she give him sex or do whatever, right? He'll leave his wife. Probably not. That's magic. That's magical thinking. Magical thinking is basically anything that really goes against what the reality is. Anything. And women mainly get into magical thinking because, and let's be real. Women have more room to make a bad decision, right? Because even when a woman have a baby by the wrong guy, like a deadbeat type of guy, she can always, you got a system that'll take care of her, a system that'll go find him and get money, take money from him and give to you. Friends and family, they'll be a little supportive and pitch in. So a lot of times women can have a better chance of going through life with that magical thinking. Men, we don't have the same luxury. We do something wrong, we get busted. We know there's a consequence when we don't do things the right way or what we should be doing. There's a big, strong consequence. We won't have time for it. But women, I'm going to tell you what, with women, you have so many women thinking so magically, like you're going to get that upstanding man, or not upstanding, but you get that man who got the money, he got looks, everything, that you're missing out on some guy on your level who will actually love you and will probably actually satisfy you more, who satisfy your values. Seriously, when I look at some, like, I could call some names. Like you got, like I mentioned bohemian women in a video this week. Well, last week actually, right? I mentioned bohemian women, why they would have trouble. Now, one of the things I've seen a lot of women who are on that bohemian thing still want that money making guy. Still want that money to make money. Even though they would never fit in his world. And I even know of one case, I know like an extreme case, and I can't share how I know this one, but it always struck me. I was struck by it at a young age. You had a woman who was agoraphobic, which meant she didn't like going outside, but she still wanted a man. And this was before online dating or anything, right? And she actually said this to me, right? She said this to me because I knew her through somebody else I was dealing with. She said, you can always have a situation where a man come to the house, a plumber or something, and had to fix up something, and he might like me. And I was nice about it because she had some mental health issues, but that's magical thinking. And people say, well, that's her, but no, there's a lot of women out here who think the same thing. They ain't thinking about what they offering. They just feel like whatever they got going on, some dude will magically fall in love with them. He will have money. He will have the prince thing. And part of it is the woman. And you know what, though? I was going to say part of it is groups like Disney or something, but I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. I really don't in this case, because, it's easy to say, well, they put out all this information, these princess stories and everything, right? But how much of that is just based on art, just imitating life and just saying, if somebody got smart and said, hey, well, we know all these women looking for a prince. Let's put some stories out like that. In fact, an executive for Disney actually said that in an interview. He said, that's why they always win. We always make sure there's a happy ending. We always make sure no matter what goes on, there's a happy ending. And I actually had a woman talk to me. I was talking with a woman. She was dealing with some guy who obviously wasn't as interested in her. But she was telling me about those stories, right? Because she had read one of my earlier works, and it wasn't a happy ending. It was a realistic ending. A man and a woman didn't get together. And she said, no, I didn't like it because they didn't get together. But that was magical thinking. The way I wrote this particular story, it wouldn't have made sense for these two to get together, right? It's kind of like people following Insecure. It really is really logical that Lawrence has moved on. It's logical, especially the way where they were at. So it's logical, right? But a lot of women don't deal with that. Like, look, there's a consequence for this. A lot of women still thinking, they can have whatever attitude they have, don't work on it. Don't do any real work on their attitude, themselves or anything. Keep blaming everybody else, but they still going to get that top-notch dude. Magical thinking is not going to happen, y'all. It's not going to happen. Women have to be more realistic. I guarantee something. I guarantee the relationship changes overnight. Not if men all of a sudden develop player skills, even though I'm working on it, or, become better lovers or anything. It changes overnight if women collectively, I'm put this on the women, become more realistic in their choices. And realistic don't mean settling. See, that's the thing. Too many women think, oh, if they don't get that millionaire or that high post dude, that they're settling. No, you being realistic, because the person that you get, the person that you actually get is more along is going to be more in along your values. Because think about who you're going to be around in the social circles. They're going to be people who share your values. And you will probably be happier, especially if you have good values. If you got bad values, you need to work. You don't need to worry about getting a man. You need to work on doing some work for yourself. But if you a woman, you have good values and you look decent and all of that, the man who's best for you is not going to be that out of reach man or that fantasy man. It's going to be the man that's right there. And then you're going to find in the long term, when you deal with the realistic stuff and you deal with everything realistically, boom, get rid of the magical thinking. And I guarantee it. I guarantee that. Because if someone would say, how come you don't say that to the men? Most men are. Most men are because we, as I said earlier, there's a repercussion if we don't do if we mess up. We face serious repercussions, so we gotta be. And even though I said this applies to all groups, especially black men, we know there's a repercussion if we mess up. We slip up one time. We've been painfully made painfully aware that in this culture, all we need is one time. That one moment. So we don't have time to play. So anyway, ladies, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.